And however you may be listening, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Joy Taylor is joining me now. It should be noted that I did something I've never done a couple of weeks ago. I bet $1,000 on a football game, and I won it. I bet Cleveland over the Jets. I got lucky. Baker Mayfield came in and won me $1,000. This week, I bet against him. And even though it looked like he was going to win, he didn't, so I doubled it. So I have $2,000 now thanks to Baker Mayfield. Next hour, I am going to take my winnings and bet it again.
You're going to bet all of it?
All of it. Every penny. Every stinking penny of it. So I won $1,000. I doubled it, and I'm going to double it again. Can you imagine? $4,000.
This is how it starts. Yes, you can imagine. That's why you're gambling. This is how it starts.
This is how it starts.
At what point am I allowed to intervene and start setting aside your winnings?
Well, if I win next week, then you can intervene.
Okay. Then what I think we should do? If you win next week, when you win next week, we'll set it. We'll go back to the original $1,000 bet.
All right.
Don't
hold me because I'm having a lot of fun. I got to be honest, I've never done this before. I'm having a lot of fun. So next hour, I'll tell you which way I'm going. All right, we do it every Monday at this time, where Colin was right and where Colin was wrong.
Where Colin was right?
I said the Ravens were my dark horse Super Bowl team, and I said more than anything, Joe Flacco is going to have a very good year. I've been told by people around the NFL he's not as aspirational as a Tom Brady or Joe Montana. He doesn't wake up wanting to conquer the world. He kind of plays himself into shape. But I said if you light a fire under him or it's a contract year, watch out. Well, they drafted Lamar Jackson. He feels a little heat, and he has been fantastic. 8 touchdowns, 2 picks, career highs in passer rating and passing yards per game. Joe Flacco, when Joe Flacco is motivated, is a really good NFL quarterback. Great size and a cannon for an arm, but he's not always motivated. We've all worked with people like that. Some people just don't wake up wanting to conquer the world, and the ones that have talent and do become Kobe Bryant, become Tom Brady, become LeBron James. But Flacco has been what we predicted he would be, a really good quarterback with a team that's capable now, maybe as good as anybody in this league, including the L.A. Rams.
Where Colin was wrong.
Mitch Trubisky threw for 6 touchdown passes. Going to be honest, I didn't see that one coming. In the history of guys who have thrown 6 touchdown passes in a game, let me read the names. Otto Graham, Dan Marino, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Steve Young. Mitch Trubisky. Listen, I still think his ceiling is rather low, but the Bears' Matt Nagy, another Andy Reid disciple, is cranking up all sorts of clever stuff. And yesterday, Mitch dialed up that's a beautiful throw, a couple of really big-time throws. So I see the guy as very limited, but he proved me wrong yesterday. Mitch Trubisky, say it out loud, is now in a class with Otto Graham.
Where Colin was right?
Philadelphia, a puff-your-chest town. This is what Philadelphia's always been. They win the Super Bowl. The coach gets a book deal. Oh, they're yap, making guarantees, go to a bunch of parades, and now Philadelphia is 2-2. They're not spectacular at anything. Carson Wentz is okay. They've lost 2 road games. Secondary's kind of a mess. And the chest-puffing Eagles, with a tougher first-place schedule, have come back down to earth. And, oh, by the way, good luck because your schedule gets tougher now. Next up, Minnesota, that defense with extra time and really motivated. I think Philadelphia will eventually probably get it right, but this is what I warned you about. How do you handle success? And Philly guy has never been great at handling success. The Phillies weren't. The Sixers weren't. Takes a little class, a little refinement. Put your head down, work. Stop the trash talk. Enough of the books and parades.
Where Colin was wrong.
Well, some of this has been injuries, but Atlanta's now FC, and I like their schedule. But I look at them now, you know what? There's just certain teams that never make the play. And they don't make the play defensively. And even though they've solved their red zone issues offensively, they don't make the big play offensively. And it's funny because Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded head coach. He's a tough guy. But when you watch Atlanta, don't you always feel like if they get into a fist fight here, they're going to come out on the wrong end of it? And again, now they're losing home games. I have overvalued the Falcons.
Where Colin was right?
I said this to start the year. This Notre Dame team is different. This is the best Notre Dame team, I'm being honest here, that I've seen since the Lou Holtz era. They are big, and I mean like Alabama big, Georgia big, Oklahoma big up front defensively. They got NFL players. They got Sunday guys defensively. They rolled Stanford. Stanford's a good team. Stanford's a top 7-8 team in the country. They have now put a new quarterback in, Ian Book, and he is a big-time player. So they have solved what was their issue, throwing the ball down the field. This is the best Notre Dame team, my eyes tell me, they've had in over a decade. Defensively up front, they maybe aren't as good as Clemson up front defensively, but they're every bit as good as the Georgias and the Oklahomas and the Alabamas up front, and they got the quarterback solved. I've always liked Brian Kelly, a little bit of a hothead, a little temperamental, not easy to quarterback for, but I've been critical of Notre Dame in the past. They are the real deal. This team to me looks like they can match up with anybody. They may not beat Alabama, but they can match up in the trenches with Alabama.
Where Colin was wrong.
I have no idea how the New England Patriots scored 38 points yesterday. I don't like Philip Dorsett, and he had a absolutely brilliant catch right there. Cordarrelle Patterson, to me, is a non-trustable return guy. He has a touchdown right there. Josh Gordon was not only 2 for 2, but he also had a hell of a block, which led to a big play. Running back Sony Michel, who I liked out of college, hasn't done anything. He looked good yesterday. Every guy I don't like and that I criticized last week delivered. They were 10 for 15 on third downs, which is, Miami's got a real defense. Miami can play. Is spectacular. And, you know, I've been saying the last couple of weeks, I just don't see the playmakers. I don't see the dynamic athletes. And every one of those guys I don't like was really good yesterday. I was wrong.
Where Colin was right?
Colin, Sam Darnold lost. Yeah, I know. And I have predicted, yes, I have predicted every Jets game right this year. Remember, I bet them in week 1 to win on Monday Night Football on the road. And I predicted they'd lose to Cleveland. And I predicted they'd be ugly and lose to Jacksonville. For the record, they will be one of my Blazing 5 picks this week against Denver. I predicted they would struggle against Jacksonville and Cleveland. Of course they will. They've got an atrocious offensive line, no elite tight ends or running backs, marginally talented wide receivers who drop it and are undependable. Listen, he had no turnovers and a passer rating of 74. The Jets' problem yesterday was not Sam Darnold. It was their defense, which with extra time was atrocious. So far on the Jets, yes, I have predicted every game right. I have them beating Denver, then losing 3 straight, and going on a little bit of a roll after that.
Where Colin was wrong.
You know, I said LeBron's going to come to L.A., and it's going to be seamless. Because L.A. is a home of stars. People aren't going to freak out. Oh, my God, there's LeBron stopping traffic. I thought, you know, the fans will love it. The media will handle it. L.A. appears confused. The media doesn't even know how to handle him. They're should we be respectful? Should we be confrontational? Remember this last week, this question to LeBron James?
You're wearing number 6. Is there a particular reason why you're wearing it?
I've worn 6 in practice for a long time. I'm starting to figure out a lot of you guys just not recognizing who I am, huh? I have no idea. I've been doing this for about the last 8 years now.
LeBron appears not to like people covering him, and the people covering him appear not to like LeBron James. The vibe is completely weird. Hopefully it gets worked out, but I thought it would be such an easy transition. Kobe fans don't like him. Murals have been defaced. The media's pushing back and confused. It's weird.
LeBron's generally very good with the media, too. And he's been doing this for a very long time.
And he has been nothing but like eye-rolling with the L.A. media now for a month.
Where Colin was right?
All magic is just illusion, including Ryan Fitzmagic. Folks, come on. You're buying into this? Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's a backup. Nick Foles is a backup. The difference between star quarterbacks and backups is consistency. That's the difference between a star linebacker and a star corner and a star receiver is consistency. Ryan Fitzpatrick in his 4th game became, you know, what backup quarterbacks can often be, atrocious. The media and the fans buy into this every year. There'll be a backup that steps in due to an injury or a suspension, and it's like, oh my God, that guy's a Jameis Winston is a bigger, stronger athlete. There's a reason you drafted Jameis Winston where you drafted him. And for the record, Jameis Winston the last 2 years, his passer rating went up, his percentages went up. Jameis Winston is the superior player to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Of course he is.
Where Colin was right?
Earl Thomas gave Pete Carroll, for Pete's sake, the #1 salute. I never buy into this pro-player, talk politics, heavy slogan nonsense. By the way, players may say they don't like Belichick. I watched yesterday. They performed for Belichick. The Legion of Doom dynasty is unraveled. Earl Thomas, Cliff Averill ripped him on my show. Richard Sherman left bitter. The Seattle dynasty, you want to know the reason it closed? Because a lot of it was just nonsense and marketing and PR. In the end, the players don't appear to like Pete Carroll, don't buy into Pete Carroll. And just like at USC, after 4, 5, 6 years of slogans, you know, tough guy Tuesday and competition Wednesday and loose ball Thursday, it all unravels. Football's about hard work, head down, details. It's what Belichick creates, provides, and that's why they're still winning. Where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. By the way, my next guest is the only player with 5+ interception for touchdown returns and 5+ fumble recovery touchdowns in the history of the NFL. You learn something new every day. 15 years in the NFL, a multiple-time Pro Bowler, D'Angelo Hall, joining us here on a Monday. So, okay, everybody's puffing up Baker Mayfield. 4 turnovers. Is that the ref's fault? You can't win a game with 4 turnovers. 4?
Yeah.
Yards. Everybody's throwing for yards. I mean, what did you make of Baker?
I liked that he at least took responsibility. You can't turn the ball over that many times in the National Football League and win football games and be successful. And so, though I don't think it's all Baker's fault, he can't turn the ball over like that. He has to be smarter with the ball, and I think he understands that. That's why he said, look, at the end of the day, it's my fault. As a defensive player, though, I can't say anything to Baker if a team puts 45 points up on us, period, no matter where we got the ball. We work all offseason on getting the ball in bad situations, bad field position, and holding that offense to field goals. And Cleveland didn't do that. And Cleveland's a better team than they showed against Oakland, who I don't think is very good at all.
Well, Oakland's defense is a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
And so, you know, Baker did what young guys do. He made some great plays. He made some not so great plays. You know, he has to work on being better with the ball in the pocket. That's the difference between college and the pro game. In college, it's not a lot of dudes who are going to try to strip that ball trying to get it. They're still learning that.
You know what's funny, D'Angelo? I was thinking about this yesterday on the couch. In college, offensive players are very fast. The backs are fast, the receiver. In the NFL, defensive players, including defensive ends, are fast.
Yeah.
So for an you know, generally in college, your best, because you get a kid out of high school, and if he can run, you put him on offense. He's a back. But in the NFL, and what happens is with Baker yesterday, the game gets really, really fast. And a couple times, those guys are on you so quick. And Johnny Manziel thought he could scramble. Oh, he couldn't scramble. And, you know, Baker can run a little bit. They're a little bit faster. And so I think it's a learning process with Baker. The game's really fast. There's no Texas Tech here. And that's where the turnovers come from.
Yeah. And that's the difference. Those elite players he faced versus Ohio State versus a Alabama, that it was only maybe 2 or 3 of those type of guys on that team that he was like, all right, I got to watch out for this dude. I got to watch out for that dude. In the NFL, it's all 11 on defense. It is literally all 11 guys on defense can run. They're athletic. They're in the NFL for a reason. Whereas when you're in college, a couple of them dudes really are rotational type of players, and they have no chance at playing on Sundays. And so that's absolutely the big difference between, you know, what Baker's seeing now and what he saw last year. And so, you know, that was my biggest hang up on a guy like Josh Rosen. I think you loved him.
I love
you liked him a lot.
I love his arm.
Sam Darnold
I don't know.
right?
Sam's my guy. Rosen throws the best ball, but he's thin, and he had a nice throw yesterday.
See, but my thing with Josh Rosen, he was so overly confident of what he can do and what he's gonna do, and the regrets of people not taking him. And I'm like, dude, you were a average quarterback in college. Ultimately, we want you to win games, and you didn't win games. You're one of the few quarterbacks who we're talking about as being a top 1, 2, or 3 pick who had his college coach fired. Normally, when you're a really good and I'm not out here in L.A., so it might have been some other things going on. But I'm a Jim Moore fan, so I'm constantly rooting for him. And so, when I found out, when kind of it came out that he was going to be fired, and now I'm hearing this quarterback, because I did a lot of the pre-draft stuff, talking about how great of a player he is, and I'm watching some of the game film of him playing, and I'm like, yeah, he can make some good throws, but he was so overly confident, he almost felt as though he was going to be the only one working. And in the NFL, everybody's working, and that to me was what rubbed me wrong about Josh Rosen, is that I just yes, you can have all the confidence in the world, but one, everyone doesn't need to know, and two, show me something and don't tell me something.
That's fair enough. So I believe there's a reason you become a rookie head coach, because the last guy failed. Mm-hmm. Okay? So if you're taking over a football team, not only didn't you win games, but usually you couldn't get the culture right.
Yeah.
So it's just like when people buy companies. The reason the company's available often is the culture's not right. So they fire a CEO, they bring in a new CEO, and his job is to change the culture, change morale, because you're not going to always win initially. So when I look at Frank Reich, my takeaway is year one, change the culture. Become aggressive. Have a relationship with Andrew Luck, because 6 years in the league, he's never had a relationship with his owner, his GM, and his coach. So he goes for it yesterday, and I'm like, the Texans were gassed, Luck was on fire, and Frank Reich saying 1-3, 1-2-1. Bottom line is, this locker room, we are a go-for-it team. You didn't like it.
No, I didn't like it at all. And I liked the mindset, but that to me wasn't the right time or place to do that, because as we look at it now, it's 24 seconds on the game clock in overtime. They have one timeout. Even if you catch that ball, you have to use the timeout. So now you use the timeout.
Can you rush up, down it?
Even if you do rush up and down it, then probably we're at 15 seconds. 15 seconds, one timeout.
12-yard completion, timeout, win the field goal. You don't buy it?
I don't see it. I just don't see it, because I know what those defenses are trying to do, and they're going to give you some of the little stuff up front, and they're taught to keep it in front of him and keep him in bounds. And so, yes, all right, you save your timeout. You got 15 seconds left if you can get up there and clock it. But to me, a lot of things have to go right for that to happen.
That's true.
First, you have to complete the catch. You complete the catch, cool. Timeout or not, 15 seconds of timeout, or 24 seconds, no timeouts. Regardless, you still have to get another 15, 20 yards before you can kick a field goal that you feel like you really have a chance to make. To me, it's just so many negatives and so many positives. So many things have to happen to have a positive outcome in that situation, as opposed to just if you kick the ball and you punt it, at the end of the day, you're
settling for a tie.
In a sense, you're settling for a tie, but you're also guaranteeing you don't lose. You don't lose unless they return this punt for a touchdown.
Okay, here's Frank Reich after the game. Let's listen to his quote.
Yeah, I'll just address it now. I mean, we're not playing to tie. I mean, we're going for that 10 times out of 10. I mean, that's just the way it's got to roll. We're going to be aggressive. That's what we want in our players. That's a mindset that we have in our players. That's the only way to win in this league, I think.
Man, I love that guy. You go ahead. You take the passive, coach. That's fine with me.
Well, you know what? He's going to at some point have a loss on his record that somebody's going to be questioning, and he's going to be like, man, I wish a tie looks a lot better than a loss. And to me, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about the tie or even the win at this point. I don't want to lose. Point blank, period.
4 hours.
I just don't want to lose.
4 hours in, you don't want to lose. All right, so Aaron Rodgers yesterday wasn't very good, and it kind of felt like to me, called out his coach. You know, he said, they make the game plan. I pick the plays I like. Didn't have to go there, but, he was honest about it, so that's okay. Listen, man, I've watched 11 years of people fawning over Aaron Rodgers. I got one Super Bowl run. I don't need him to be in the Super Bowl every year. That's not what I'm saying. But he's not really good right now. He's going to be 35 in December. He's hurt again. I think at times he's condescending. I mean, I don't know. What's wrong with Green Bay when you watch him? What is it? Devontae Adams, to me, is a baller.
Yeah. I mean, what happened in this game, he just didn't quite look like himself. I mean, Aaron made some plays that are uncharacteristic for him we aren't used to seeing Aaron throw a ball, throw a hitch route like that to a corner who's coming about to break on it. Should be a pick six. And so, I mean, I think Aaron's done so much in this league that for him to stand up there and say, hey, look, guys, I need to play better. I didn't do this right. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. To me, and I don't know, because Aaron is the kind of guy who when I've had conversations with, will take responsibility for things. Will say, hey, I didn't do this right. I've known Aaron since college. He whooped up on us pretty bad in a bowl game at Cal, and we've kind of become, we've been friends since then.
Is he happy in Green Bay? Honestly. Is he happy with McCarthy? You think he's happy? Be honest about this.
I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either.
I don't think he is.
I don't think he's I think he says the right stuff, but I think in the end he's disappointed. They don't spend on Khalil Mack. Yeah. They've never gotten a running game. They don't keep offense. You nailed it. I don't think deep down, Aaron, you don't keep taking these little passive-aggressive shots if you're happy in a relationship.
Yeah.
If you're taking shots at your wife as a guy, she's pretty good, I guess. She's a pretty good parent. But take those shots when you're not happy.
Yeah, but see, I don't know where he goes from here, though.
No, he doesn't go anywhere.
He doesn't go anywhere, obviously, with the new deal. But even prior to that, I don't know if it was anywhere to go. And so, I mean, you kind of make those little comments, and you hope it either gets better or, he has his contract, so either that guy's going to go, Aaron's not going.
No, Aaron's not getting fired.
Yeah.
All right, D'Angelo Hall, great having you. Coming up next, I hope you're noticing what's happening in the NFL, but it poses a real question going forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's next.
This Thursday on FS1.